So the first question I have here is actually directed to Maria, who was a former intern, and to Huli, who is our current sales intern. So if you can just tell me, how did you learn about HubSpot?
Yeah, so thanks, Edit. So to kick us off, in my case, I follow HubSpot on LinkedIn some years before, and I read like interesting articles about how it was ranked as best place to work. So I was constantly looking when it came to the time for my internship. I did my undergraduate in international business, so I was searching for a tech company, and in this case, I saw some posts by that time on LinkedIn. So then it was like something that happened at that time that my advisor at the university sent us different opportunities for internship at HubSpot. So I said like I would just try and apply. But yeah, I did hear it before about HubSpot in LinkedIn and other social media places and how it was ranked as a top performer in the software industry. So yeah, that was my case.
Awesome. So it sounds like you were attracted by like HubSpot's reputation and that kind of pushed you to want to apply to our role.
Yeah,
Awesome. What about you, Huli?
yes, correct.
So for me, I studied economics and international finance in La Sabana. So I had a teacher that had a business, and he did mention that he used HubSpot, like on his business. So I did hear about it, like some semesters before. But actually, on the semester I was looking for internships, it was Fahad Ani, a recruiter from HubSpot, who wrote to me and told me that there was this internship program, and I was really excited. So I booked a call with him, and yeah, that's how it began.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing both. It's always interesting to see how people find their way to HubSpot. It sounds like it's just done by research or simply by someone reaching out to you or word of mouth. So thanks for sharing. And for my next question, how does one break into this tech sales industry and what advice can you share with people who are looking to make a similar move? And I would love to start with you, Malu, as you are our veteran here.
Of course, yeah, and I find and I'll tie that back to the question before as well. I think my history with tech and HubSpot are necessarily connected. So when I was in college, I was a fairly law student. I began my master's. I began my major in communications because at the time I really enjoyed tech, advertising across the board. Eventually, I moved to law, which was not a very intuitive move, but both of the combination of both drove me to an internship, not an internship, but an exchange program in Greece. And in Greece, I actually had a professor. I will be super transparent. It wasn't the class that I thought I would be more excited in, but it turned out to be one of the best classes I ever took. And incidentally, the teacher, the professor, if I'm not mistaken, she had just completed her master's back in Boston. I think this was 2016, a while ago, 8 years ago. And the entire purpose of the class was about this company called HubSpot that was changing the way the companies did business online. And she not made us, she suggested to us taking the certifications, building a blog, if I'm not mistaken. Inbound was fairly new at the time. And I remember I came back to Brazil. I had the full summer, essentially, before classes began. And my parents strongly encouraged me to get an internship. And the company called me because they said, hey, you have a certification from HubSpot. We kind of need that. And the rest is history. That company turned out to be a HubSpot partner, actually, where I worked for 6 years. And over time, I ultimately became close to the HubSpot ecosystem prior to actually working here. How does one break into the industry? Based on at least my experience, the cool thing about tech is that it's an industry in the move, right? On the move. So I began my career in tech as customer support, went to onboarding, went to consulting on HubSpot products, ultimately transitioned into strategy and operations. So I think the most important piece is curiosity and staying connected to trends. Back in the day, back when I first learned about HubSpot, the company strategy was in a different place and we evolved with it. So I think my advice was staying connected, would be staying connected, staying curious. And because I don't know how Mahu and Huli feel, but pretty sure that my job today didn't exist 5 years ago. So I've always tried to guide my career towards what I was curious about, what was in trend in general, and different places that I could actually contribute it. So that would be my advice. Not go with the flow, but be intentional about the things you want to learn. And I'm sure there's somewhere in tech where you'll find, let's say, your home there.
I love that. I love those points. So staying connected, being curious, and being intentional. So I feel like a good segue to that is like if you are looking to become into tech sales, like reaching out to existing HubSpotters and learning about their positions and seeing if it's something that you see yourself doing in the future. So love those points, Malu. And what about you, Maria? I would love to hear from you. And I'll repeat my question. So how does one break into tech sales industry, and what advice can you share with people who are looking to make a similar move?
Okay, so I'll tell like from my own experience first. I had a previous seasonal job as a customer service and sales agent, so I think that was like the first time that I really got some insights about how the sale industry worked, how everything evolved in there. But then after doing my sales strategy internship with Malu, we did there a market research for Brazil, where I had to interview different people and customers and partners. So I became really interested like in the partner ecosystem at that time. And that's when I decided to apply to the role and to be more into partner sales and to the partner ecosystem right now. So I'll say like as advice, embracing like growth mindset, like be open to learning and adapt because as Mel said, like the tech industry evolves really, really fast. So a willingness to grow, but also embrace change. I will say that it will still for you as well if you are someone that likes dynamism, the tech and the sales tech industry. It's very disruptive and innovative. So I think it's my advice. Just throw yourself in there and give it a try. Because that's how you will learn to know if this is a type of industry you still will like to work or not. So yeah, that's like how my experience went. I did not convert like straight away into the full-time position after being a sales intern. But then I saw like that opportunity and I decided to apply because I said this industry has a lot to give us and to learn from. So it was like very interesting how the path went in my case, I will say.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And yeah, you don't know if you don't try. What about you, Huli? Tell me a little bit about your experience and what advice you can give.
Of course. So in my experience, I think that, well, I totally agree with Malu and Mari on the point of like continuously learning about new things because the sector like changes a lot because there's a lot of innovation involved with it. But I would also say that languages are very important. Like for instance, if I hadn't like had this fluency in English, I'm totally sure that I could have made it into my position right now because it is very important, like in order to connect like with the recruiters or with all the teams around the globe, you need English to communicate with them. And if you have more languages, the better. You can connect with even more people on their native language. So yeah, I would suggest that as well.
Yeah,
I would
awesome.
100% second that from Huli. I learned English from a very early age, fortunately, but I moved to Colombia without speaking 2 words of Spanish, potentially. Without this internship program, I would still be at 10 words, likely. And at the end of the day, there's just so many resources nowadays that you can use to learn, practice, stay connected. And it's definitely a huge differentiator when you're walking into tech, just on the account of how global tech companies are across the board. So I think that's a great point, Huli.
Yeah, really good point, because in this internship, you'll get to practice that language. So practice is a key word here on that. But thank you all for being honest and just sharing your journeys. I feel like it's a reminder that everyone has their own path into tech sales. There's no one path that is the right way to join HubSpot in tech sales. You just got to figure it out as you go. And like Maria said, you don't know if you don't try. So now for my next question, I would love to just hear how have you all navigated challenges or obstacles as a woman in tech sales industry? And what advice would you give other aspiring female sales professionals? And I would love to start with you, Malu, as you are our veteran here.
Absolutely. Ush, this is a very good one, and I think that both the advice and how I navigated are very connected in the sense. My background in tech is I had no background in tech, so I came from studying law, studying advertising, and eventually ended up into a strategy. I think a major piece for me has always been to find small communities within tech that I could look up to. So I remember possibly when I was still an intern back in my previous company. And at the time, there was this podcast that had, I think it was called Masters of Skill with Reid Hoffman from LinkedIn. And every now and then he would interview this very successful women in tech. And I would just go and double click on that, follow her, follow them on social media, and understand a little bit about the communities they were building. Eventually, I think I evolved to participating in these communities. And this is one of the great things in Latin America. I think we have many communities that actually foster talent development. There's one that comes to mind. It's called Laboratoria. They're present across Latin America, and they're focused on developing women into tech roles. So just the effort of staying connected, I mean, it's a click. You're going to follow them on LinkedIn. You're going to follow them on Instagram, but you get access suddenly to all of this great content that's very relatable, because there are things that you're not going to get in a handbook on friends. For me, it's very common today to have meetings with many executive stakeholders. That's not the kind of thing that you're going to get in your company playbook, I think. And it's always super valuable to hear from people who you relate to and who have been through that. So, and I think that this is the kind of piece that you exert 100% control over, how connected you want to stay and how curious you want to be. So that would be, I think, my advice. Start early, begin early to get involved in communities that you relate to, because you're not only going to feel less alone. I think that's a huge point, but you're going to get to hear some great stories along the way and hopefully inspire based on them.
Yeah, definitely. Those are really important points. And just hearing how you've tackled those challenges, I feel like a lot of people listening will resonate and be able to take that advice and apply it in their own, because every student is pretty much in that stage where they're trying to get into the corporate world or the career world. So thanks for sharing those tips. Maria or Huli, is there anything else that you want to add to that?
Well, on my case, I don't know if it's just a female thing. I think it's not, but it doesn't happen to my male friends, and it's that sometimes I'm not confident enough. So I find that my male friends don't have those troubles, at least in my case. So I've like before the interview for the internship, I did deal a bit with a bit of imposter's syndrome. I think it's called that way. And I do remember a teacher of mine telling me before the interview that I was great. Like I just had to believe myself and trust myself. And well, here I am. So I believe that's a good piece of advice. It worked for me. It might work for others as well.
I love that. And thank you for being vulnerable, because I know a lot of people face imposter syndrome. And I know with sales is very male dominated. So I feel like a lot of women are scared to jump into tech sales because of that. But just having the confidence to do it, even though if you're not ready, if you feel like you're not ready. So thank you for being vulnerable. And you're just pretty much showcasing that it is possible because you're now a sales intern here at HubSpot.
Of course.
Yeah, what about you, Maria? Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I was here recalling some words of Gemini that she said last week during Inbound and like the principal conference, and she said authenticity. I think that authenticity comes like very, very important when you are doing any types of processes for a job. So I would say just like be who you are, bring your ideas. Don't be afraid just to ask questions, ask for feedback, and yeah, be part of places that support, that you see that these places support diversity, because diversity, I will say, that enriches decisions and it seems to be more productive. As you said, like probably sales can be a more male dominated space, but when we are now thinking about women making part of those spaces, this becomes like really, really valuable. And how us as women being authentic, sharing our ideas, uh, and just fostering safer spaces. I will say that's my kind of piece I will give to any women that's trying and that it's aspiring to be in a tech sales role. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing and thank you for quoting Yamini. Based on what you said, being your authentic self, and Yamini, she is a woman CEO of HubSpot. So again, that's something else to show the diversity here at HubSpot. And for my next question, in your opinion, what are some key skills or qualities that are essential for success in tech sales, particularly in the women industry? Malu, I would love to start with you.
Absolutely. And I'll give away, absolutely love this question because one of the things that I really like about our recruitment process at HubSpot is we're looking for there's no expectation anyone will be perfect, right? It is. And one of the things I take tons of pride in is how diverse all of our cohorts of interns and how our team in general typically, not typically, they're 100% are. In terms of in Latin America in particular, I get to work with people who come on any given day from 12 different countries. And I think that actually adds up. To connect that to in terms of what qualities and skills, I typically try to look for folks to join the team that have three attributes. First one is commitment. I think commitment goes a huge way when you zero in on the things you want to do, the things you would like to achieve, and stay committed to it. The second piece is discipline, because discipline is essentially the path that's actually going to get you there, right? And I think these are the kind of things that you will outline in your everyday life, but translate to your working experience as well. I'm very big on passion. Whatever you sign up on doing, sign it, right? I think companies that are evolving so fast, you're surrounded in an environment where you can actually make a huge contribution, regardless of your role, regardless of hierarchy. Mahu was commenting on some of the researches that we've done during her internship. I reference back those documents to this day. Like actually in planning strategy calls, you can check Mahu. I think I opened it last week to show to someone some of the findings. Juli right now is working with our global teams on one of the most key functions within planning. So I think passion, discipline, and commitment can take you a long way just thinking across the board. And I would add a fourth one, which is patience. I think more and more I notice that companies will try to strive to provide you with a career path, but there is a huge learning curve as well. And I think we lose a lot when we're thinking about the end goal and not just enjoying the journey. I know that sounds incredibly cliche, but the approach I try to take in tech is how can I actually master this before I move on to a next piece, right? Because you're going to need to develop yourself. And I mean, in my case in particular, we cover a territory of 30 plus countries. So there's always something new to learn. I think that zooming in and being patient to actually see the progress will take you a long way there too.
Awesome. I love those skills. Anything you want to add, Maria or Huli?
I'll say something that also covers here and that Malu was saying, like just having a goal-oriented mindset, I will say, like that will bring you all opportunities and you will know like the different paths you just can take to be there and to achieve that goal that you want. And also I would say trying to find like problem solving skills, like probably from previous experiences you have had, trying to match those experiences and said, okay, how did I solve this? How that's a better way to do it. And so yeah, I think that's like very important in terms of skills.
Yeah, definitely. I also agree. What about you, Huli? Anything you want to add?
Yes. So I would say, especially for the internship, like for this particular case, that staying curious and learning is also very important, especially in your internship, because there's a lot you don't understand. Like there's things that you don't even know you don't understand because you don't know they exist. So learning is very important, especially at this point. So yeah, I would encourage staying curious and making questions. Like I actually think that not having questions is like a bad sign because it means that I haven't thought of something like enough to be curious about a particular thing. So yeah, that would be my advice as well.
We absolutely love that one, and I think that is very common in at least in the internship program. We'll go into our weekly one-on-ones, and I'll be so. What questions do you have? And I'll push like no a question. Come on, a question. And I think that many times we hold back on not asking questions because we think they say something about us, and I think that couldn't be farther from the truth, especially when you're navigating. Tech companies are complex. HubSpot in particular is a gigantic company. There's always more to learn, but you can also always try to make sure that you got it right enough, right? Because things can be confusing. So I love that. And Juli, I apologize for asking about the questions so many times. I'm not going to stop, unfortunately, but yeah.
Yeah, so don't be afraid to ask questions. And I feel like HubSpot is really intentional about who they hire and the people we have here at HubSpot. You can ask people from different teams a question, and everyone is always willing to lend a helping hand. So don't be afraid to ask those questions here at HubSpot, especially. Everyone is always willing to support, everyone is always willing to jump on a call and answer your questions. Which kind of leads me to my next question on the importance of mentorship and finding someone there to support you. So I would love to just hear if you can just discuss the importance of mentorship and professional development opportunities in advancing one's career in tech sales. So Malu, if we could start with you.
Absolutely. I will pull from something that Mahu said that I thought was really interesting, and I think it ties back to intention. So, at least in my case, I think that there's a lot of roles that you can zoom into and be, for instance, I want to be the very best sales rep. I want to be a leader. I want to be a director. I think that it's a completely fair approach to take to your career. In my case, I've been more confused over time, I believe, especially when I started getting into different areas of the business. And I liked a lot of things. I had a very hard time zooming into what was important. And I remember I had a manager at the time that he told me, I am here to help with whatever you need. I need your help in setting the direction. So I think mentoring and professional development, they require a step before that. It's essentially understanding what your goal is going to be, whether it's a role or whether it's a career path, or whether, in my case, for a long time, it was, I want to get really good at understanding market dynamics. And that this translated into a lot of different things. And ultimately, that's how I got into strategy. But I wanted to make sure that it was a topic that I could speak to with confidence, and that it also interested me. I think a big piece on professional development as well is you can excel in many different things. I think it's important to understand the ones that are going to take you farther. Many times it's going to be doubling down on the things that you're already strong in and getting to a general level in the other requirements. So, and zooming into that last piece is once you actually pinpoint those pieces, it becomes easier to find people to help you out. And then I think the advice is don't be shy. I remember I would say my first 2 years in tech, there was this new company coming out, and the founders were Latin Americans working out of the US and extremely successful, opening a new company. And I was fairly obsessed with them at the time. And I remember at some point I sent them a LinkedIn message, and I actually got to meet them in person twice afterwards. And just don't be shy and make sure that you are intentional in your approach. You don't want to be slacking someone, sending a LinkedIn message to someone saying, hey, think you're great. We'd like to be like you. You want to make sure that you're also being thoughtful of the person's time and understanding, look, I'm in this place in my career. I'm looking to do X, Y, and Z. These are my challenges. Today, I maintain an ongoing mentorship with someone I strongly look up to. And the way that we do it is essentially I sent her a doc a couple of weeks prior to us, a couple of days prior to us talking. This is what I'm struggling with. This is what's on my mind. This is what I would really like to hear your thoughts on. And I think that's not only is appreciative of the time that the person is giving to you, right? But it helps you, it forces you to actually look inside and be like, okay, so this is what, these are the things that I should be focusing on. So I would say those are the pieces.
I love that. So defining your goal and then being intentional on why you're reaching out. So I
Yeah.
love that so much because mentorship is really a game changer, and finding the right mentor can help you level up into what you want to aspire to be. So thanks for sharing that. Maria, Juli, anything you want to add to that?
I'll just say that, and recalling what Mel was saying about connecting,
Mhm.
I will say that this makes like the perfect match because, like, at the end, when you have a mentor, that person also like uh makes you the path or the bridge to connect and to network with other people. So that's the way where you can also like develop professionally, but also personally. There's like that person can be a bridge to many opportunities and can just advocate for you when they know your goal and when they know what you want to achieve. So I think it's fundamental. Mentorship, it's fundamental.
Yeah,
All right,
definitely.
I will put Holly on the spot here because what Maho said is extremely important. Um, be vocal as well. So a couple of months ago, I was at one-on-one with Holly, and she looks at me and says, "I really wanted to understand a little bit more about FP&A at HubSpot." And that was the ask. I want to understand a little bit more about because we're within sales, we have some sort of interaction with that cohort. Right now, Julie's probably more calls with FP&A than I am on a weekly basis. So I think that raising your hand, and this is, I think, can be a huge challenge as well when you're entering your career because if you're lucky enough, you're going to be in an environment where people want you to excel and want you to win, right? But there's a limit to how much the person can do that if you're not being vocal about this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I would like to understand better, this is what I'm struggling with, because this helps the people around you help you as well. So yeah.
1,000% plus one to that one. Be vocal.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like on my case, my main mentor has been Malu, of course. So in my experience, yeah, being vocal about what you want to learn, what you're passionate about, it's very important so that your mentor can actually like guide the way. like into what you're passionate about and what you want to work in
Yeah,
eventually. So yeah.
exactly, 1,000%. And here at HubSpot, we're all about growing better, not only for our customers, but also for the employees here as well. How do you all ensure that you're growing at HubSpot, and how do you feel that your manager supports you here? And Juli, I want to start with you because I know Malu here is your manager.
Don't
Of
put me on the
course.
spot, Huli. This is getting recorded, okay?
Sure.
Totally. So I think that like on the tech sector in general, like find a career path can be a bit like challenging, especially because there's many ways you can take. There's a lot of departments, like a lot of roads that you can explore, and it can get confusing at times, like what we really like. And it can change at times, and that's okay. Like just as Malu said, like she was interested in a lot of things at the beginning, and then she found like her way was into strategy, and that might change in the future, and it's not wrong. So I think that evolving like in your career, it's not just about like going all the way up, like on the department you are, but also exploring other options like around. Maybe you are passionate today about data analysis, but maybe tomorrow you could be really enthusiastic about sales. So yeah, I think that it's important also to give you like the chance to explore other things, and who knows, maybe you might change totally and end up liking it more than what you're currently doing.
Yeah, and I feel like that's so true when it comes to students who are looking for internships because you don't really know what you're looking for or where you see yourself.
Totally.
So just being able to be transparent with your manager and finding out exactly what it is that you want to do. So thanks for sharing that. And what about you, Malu? Would love to hear your perspective as well.
Yeah, I think it's a good one because kind of looking from the other side, I think the pieces that are more challenging is especially if when you're working in an autonomous environment. So it's a comment, a joke that I make to everyone during orientation week is HubSpot, no one is going to be pinging you at 9 in the morning to see if you're aligned. I mean, that's just not that's not how we operate. We operate by trust. Um, and of course, that as a manager, you want to make sure that you are connected enough to the day to day to provide valuable input and not just be providing general info. To that end, what's extremely helpful is when I have someone on my team, an intern, an analyst that comes and presents a situation and shares what they're struggling with. So this is what happened this week. This is how I approached it. This is where I think I might not have done the best, or this is how I think this is where I think I did an incredible job. But it's helpful to get a sense of situations that you're or cases or scenarios that you're struggling with, because that makes things more tangible. Because one of the things that, and this has happened in the past as well, but it's, and I'll use something that Holly mentioned. I want to get great at data analysis. This is something that's very common to hear, especially when you're beginning in your role. Data analysis is everything. We could be, as a manager, I struggle a bit to be okay. So I can guide you to this specific technical course, et cetera, and et cetera. I think it helps when we're bringing this to more tangible pieces. So I'm curious in understanding what's the accuracy of this data set, or how do you actually measure if a customer is a good fit? Or in your case, Maho, how can I measure what's our efficiency rate within partners? What are partners more curious or concerned about? So I think those are the pieces that when someone on my team brings, I feel I can help them most, right? And another piece that you mentioned in terms of grow better at HubSpot, and we're fortunate enough to work in an environment that actually walks the talk on that, but it has to begin with you. So, for instance, HubSpot full-time employees have multiple incentives to take a course or to use the tuition specifically. No one's going to force you to do it. So I think that piece on intention is extremely important because there's too much content out there. I think the more you can zoom in and get help to actually help you get the focus that you need. Those are the pieces that I think make growing better, actionable. Because you don't want it to be just something that you see on a wall, right? So I think those are the pieces that I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Growing better starts with you. Love that
Yeah,
quote.
love that. Yeah.
Maria, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would just want to say that I find probably there's sometimes like metrics, I will say. This competences metrics uh, will be also like very, very important to know, look, like, hey, so I am a novice in this topic, or now I am an intermediate. So having this, we have like in RevOps, I know that in each department probably there is one, this core competencies. So we know how much are we advancing in those. And I think that also defines like our career path. So like if we want to get in there in data analysis, so what do we have to do in order to achieve it? So having this competencies metrics is also like give us a clear understanding on where we are at. And I think that here at HubSpot that works very, very well. And I think that's also like a way in order to know how we grow and what it's missing. So yeah, I find it like really useful.
Yeah, I love that you highlighted core competencies because a good way to track that you're growing as well is like, do you have examples that back up those core competencies? Like, can you speak to those examples that you match with what you're
Yeah.
expecting to do? And that'll kind of give you like a track to see if you're growing with the company or that you're growing professionally as well. So thanks for highlighting that.
Yeah.
And with sales, I know this field is constantly evolving. So Malu, I would love to just hear, how do you see the future of tech sales evolving in Latin America? And what opportunities do you foresee aspiring sales professionals?
That's it. I have multiple slides to support what I'm going to say at this point. I will not bore you with them. But every day, a big component part of my job is mapping out the potential of Latin America. 9 out of 10 times, it's about the people. So Latin America is just brimming with talent, and we are in this incredible environment of emerging opportunities, right? Economies in development and accelerated growth. So the way that I see tech sales evolving in Latin America is different markets are going to have different levels of maturity as it relates to tech adoption. I think that's normal, right? And we see this every day, working, for instance, in Brazil, coming from Brazil and knowing how customers and salespeople use tech there. You compare that to different markets, it's going to change, and that's okay. The one thing that doesn't change in a very good salesperson and consulting person across the board is understanding your customer. So more important, I think that being the very best at understanding absolutely every single line item of features that we have, because that's not going to change. That's just going to increase, not just at HubSpot, everywhere. Getting very good at understanding a pain point, listening, and mapping that out to a problem, and then connecting your solution. I think that's the only thing that's going to be evergreen in sales. And it's not just sales, it's strategy, it's partner ops, it's revenue operations. So yeah, I think the advice that I would give is, yes, very important to stay connected to your market, to your product, understanding the strategy behind the company that you're supporting. Most important of all is understanding your customers. Take the time to do that. At HubSpot, we use multiple tools that allow you to go and call customer and listen to calls, but Mahu had to call, if I'm not mistaken, 25 different customers and people and just listen them out, right? So I think that active listening, curiosity skill is something that will take you a long way, regardless of which market you operate in, which software you're selling. I think that would be my one. It's the one thing that I would bet on not changing at any given time.
I love that. And it's exciting thoughts about the future. There's a lot of potential for growth in LATAM, and it's encouraging to hear about it just because we have students here that are looking for careers, and sales is something that's never going to go away. So that's something to think about. I know we're almost at the Q&A portion, so I want to wrap up the last few questions. So for the next question, as leaders in tech sales industries, how do you all prioritize diversity, equity, and inclusion? Because that's something that we talk about so much here at HubSpot. So how do you foster that within your teams? And how do you support and have like an inclusive work environment between your departments? Yeah, and anyone can jump in for this question.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was going to
okay.
ask you,
So,
Mo,
okay.
because you're in a global
Okay.
team now. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll kick us off. So in my case, we are 6 people. We are 6 people, but we are a global team. So we are different, from different countries around here, Latin America, but also from the United States. So like I will say we are all from different backgrounds, different work experiences. I will say also from different ages, like age here does not matter. And I see that in this case, this is how diversity and inclusion comes into place and how HubSpot really fosters this type of communities of just being diverse, because by diversity we just bring different ideas and we make up this thing that I am now. So how can we best support each other, I will say, and how from our different backgrounds we can give like our best ideas to come up with solutions for our team that it's called the Solutions Partner Operations team. So yeah, we will always have to support inclusive environments because diversity is what brings us to different solutions, different ideas. So this is how HubSpot also fosters these spaces by creating and by thinking that global teams are important.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Anything you want to add, Malu or Huli?
I have a couple of pieces, but Huli, if you want to go first.
Sure. So in my case, my short time as an intern in this company, like I can tell you that HubSpot really values like diversity, and that the company gives equal chances like for everyone to shine. And from an economic point of view, from my economist that I carry inside, I can tell you that like true richness and like development comes from giving equal chances and opportunities to everyone, regardless of where they come from. Because from doing so, it is where people can actually shine and the great ideas come from. So yeah, I can really tell you that in HubSpot that's very important. Like when you come in, you literally have to do a course on diversity. So they really care about that, and there's many mechanisms that ensure that happening. So yeah, I would say that HubSpot is a company that really like makes sure that diversity is like a top priority.
Yeah, what Malu said earlier, we don't just walk the walk, we talk the talk as well.
Yeah.
Or
Literally.
vice
And
versa.
I kick all this off with this one, which is, and it's something that I'm not going to say I struggle with, but it's something I debated with a lot when I joined HubSpot. I moved countries to be here. I'm Brazilian. I didn't speak the language, and I was reporting into the Americas team. So, at any given point of my day, I was never talking to the same cohort of people. I think a very important piece of diversity and inclusion begins with us in the sense of you have to put yourself out there. And I'll speak specifically to dynamics of teams. Yes, I agree with Uli. HubSpot makes it so we build the systems to make sure that our teams are diverse because it's a component of our strategy, right? But I think in the day-to-day, feeling included is making sure, to me at least, it means essentially that you're welcome, right? And there's a big portion of that comes from you and sharing you, essentially. So I remember for a very long time during our team meetings within the Ameris strategy team, I would bring a fun fact about Brazil or a fun fact about Latin America. And eventually with time, you open that window as well to people to share and bring more about them. And I think that's where the magic actually lives because you can be diverse to the economic point of view. The economic value of diversity is and it's essentially you got multiple perspectives and you get to a better solution, right? You can only make that happen if you feel comfortable in that environment. So I'm very big on for our teams, I'm very big on that. I think you have to put yourself out there to inspire others to do the same. So you can break the ice there first and then advance to, yes, getting to a very heated meeting where you're disagreeing points of view. That requires an ambience of trust. So I would say that that's something that I think at HubSpot we do very well. We have very thoughtful conversations at any given point with very varying points of view. And ultimately, we get to the best decision together because we're in an environment where you can do that. So.
Yeah, definitely. And I love that you were able to feel comfortable enough to share what your background is, and you gave the opportunity for other people to share who they are as well. And in that sense, like you learn so much from people from different walks of life, and I feel like it gives you a new perspective on life as well. So thank you for sharing. And just to end on a positive note, I would love if just one of you can share a proud moment in your tech sales careers and any tips or advice for those that are watching now. So a proud moment in your tech sales career. Would love to hear from one person before we wrap up.
Okay, so I'll share mine. I'll say that mine was Malu, the final presentation of the market research analysis project we did for Brazil. I had a lot of fear and I felt like a lot of anxiety because we were presenting this to the director. But then I said like, oh my God, I learned a lot about this, but also not about like researching, making the numbers, preparing the slides, but what I heard from people. And that's what you finally like get from everything and what really marks yourself, I will say, because people are sharing like their pain points, are sharing the things they like. So I guess this was like a moment that I really enjoyed, that I felt like anxiety there as normal for being a final presentation. But I think it was all worth it, and that uh, it really like make a piece of contribution to the long-term strategy of HubSpot. So that would be mine.
I love that example. And this was was this a presentation that you gave during your internship?
Yeah, that was like the final. This was the project I worked all my internship besides other different projects that Malu was always supporting us with.
Yeah.
But I think that this was the principal project, principal final project that I made for my internship. That it was all about sales strategy. So yeah.
I love that example so much because it just shows how much our interns here have an impact, that the company trusts you to give a presentation to our directors, because we really have these impactful projects for the interns to work on, and it helps you grow professionally. And I know in that moment it was probably nerve-wracking because you're a student still and you're presenting to directors, but look how much you've grown from that. So thank you so much for sharing. We're about to open the Q&A, so if you have any questions, we'll address them now. So I'm going to pull them up. I do see one from Gabriela. What soft skills are necessary to work at HubSpot? So Malu, since you are our hiring manager, would love for you to answer.
Ooh, all right. So I think I would call out something that Mahu said that I think is key. Problem solving is, and I think that when we talk about soft skills, and across our recruitment process, we'll dive deeper into it. But when we're hiring for interns, we're not expecting you to come with a case study of how you presented a Brazil case to a director at HubSpot, for instance, right, Mahu? Like this is part of the internship, but the kind of pieces that we're looking for is getting a sense on how you handle situations, and problem solving is a huge piece, because how do you understand? How do you handle conflict? How do you handle varying opinions? How do you walk towards obstacles? I think that's a big one. Communication, the way that I like to think about communication is over communicate and generate alignment. Is how you actually, of course, that verbal, written, oral communication changes. There's the piece of languages as well, but making sure that you're developing early an ability to articulate yourself well, right? Make yourself understood. I used to have a professor in college that quoted some philosopher that said, I made this letter long because I did not have the time to make it short. Concision is an art. Getting your point across is an art and requires, I think, putting in the time for that piece. I think something that's very key in HubSpot as well, time management and autonomy. Coming back to the comment I make in orientation week, this is an extremely autonomous environment. And when you add that to the fact that our teams are extremely hybrid, making sure that you're staying on top of things, you're managing your time effectively. I think those things will go a long way in your learning curve in an environment like this. I would put maybe number 4th is teamwork. And again, it's a huge category, but having the ability to join a group, debate, and articulate how you actually achieve a path. Something that happened actually in both cohorts, both for Maho and Huli. They work on group projects. We're going to, and I don't think the expectation is and keep me honest here, but at any given point, we didn't go through, Huli's going to do this, this person's going to do this, and this. Is actually coming together as a group, discussing and getting to a better scenario of how to advance. So I think that those would be the pieces that I would call out.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Malu is one of our hiring managers, so definitely take notes on those skills and come prepared if you are going to apply. So that pretty much sums everything up. Thanks everyone for joining or listening in if you are listening after it's been recorded. I hope this session was helpful for you. Thank you to our lovely panelists for dropping some major gems and insights and advice. Our team will be connecting with you after the event, so expect for an email. So for the time being, if you want to follow us on Instagram, HubSpot Live, or LinkedIn under Student Spot, just to get some tips and advice on your career. Thank you again, and I look forward to seeing your applications. We'll be in touch, and we'll send the recording to your universities as well if you were unable to make it today. But thank you so much. Have a good weekend, and see you all. Bye.
Everyone.
Bye.